Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about another budget diver that I like. It's the Citizen Promaster 200 meter mechanical dive watch series. These come in a variety of different dial colors, including black, yellow. There's a model that has a full luminous dial, and I believe there was a blue dialed version too. In addition, they've been offered in both stainless steel and titanium. In fact, the ones that I'm showing now, the one on the left is stainless, the one on the right is titanium. Okay, as far as size and weight, these are 40 millimeter dive watches. They're 40 millimeters across the bezel, not including the crown. So 40 millimeters edge to edge. If you include the crown, down here at 8 o'clock, it's about 44 millimeters across. As far as thickness, these run about 12 to 13 millimeters thick. So they're not all that tall on the wrist. They feature standard 20 millimeter lugs, so you can find a lot of different straps, even bracelets to accommodate the watch. The weight on this stainless model is about 3.4 ounces or 97 grams. And then on the titanium model, which I've got here in back, this guy is a little lighter at 2.6 ounces or 76 grams. Now, part of that weight difference, no doubt, is made by the straps that I have on these watches. I have a waterproof synthetic strap on the stainless model, and it includes a stainless deployant clasp. So there's a little bit of additional weight here, which is part of that 3.4 ounces. On the titanium model, I just have a very simple NATO strap, so it's about as light as you can go in a strap. As far as construction, as I said, the yellow dialed model that I have here, the NY0040-25Y, features stainless steel construction. It's both brushed and polished. The other watch is solid titanium. If you look at the finish on this, it looks like it's sort of a bead blasted titanium finish on the case. And then up on the bezel, I wouldn't call it polished, but it has more sheen to it. And that's a nice kind of a two-tone effect on the titanium. I don't believe it's tegimented titanium or hardened titanium like they use on some watches, the Sin models in particular. I think it's just regular plain old titanium. Since these are dive watches, they do feature a screw-down crown, and I'll talk more about the crown a little later. Screw-down case back, again standard case back lug pattern. Fairly easy to have a service done on these watches. You notice the crown, the knurling is a little bit different between the two models. The stainless model, it has, I guess, what I would call a ridged knurling. It has fine little grooves in the position of the crown here, whereas on the titanium model, it's more of a cross-cut pattern. And you'll see this kind of knurling on quite a few Citizen titanium watches. I'm not sure why they tend to use this, but it does give you a lot of grip on the crown. Both watches feature, of course, a unidirectional rotating bezel. Quite easy to turn. Notice it is knurling on the edge, and then there's some smooth parts, but it's very easy to get your fingers on the bezel and rotate it. And it's 1 click per minute, or 1 click per second, I guess, so there's 60 graduations on the bezel. The titanium model, similar, use knurling. It's more of these cutouts, more like a tooth pattern on the bezel. But again, it's fairly easy to get your fingers on it and rotate it. So no issues there at all. Works well for diving. As far as crystal, Citizen uses what they call a hardened mineral crystal on these watches. On this particular model, it's a flat crystal. You can see it sits flush with the top of the bezel. So you have to be a little careful about not scratching that crystal, because these will scratch. On the titanium model, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's ever so slightly domed, and it does set down below the edge of the bezel. So this configuration probably offers a little more protection for the crystal, since it is recessed below the bezel a bit. Nice luminous treatment on the markers and hands, and up here on the 0 minute point there's a little luminous dot there on both watches. Citizen calls their version of the Luminova Noctiluma, but it's basically the same stuff as what Seiko uses. They call it Luma Bright. Swiss watches have Super Luminova, and Citizen chose to call theirs Noctiluma. Has a day and date window at 3 o'clock on both watches. Again, like many of these watches, the day wheel, if you turn it, you'll see different languages. On this yellow dialed one, the day wheel alternates between English and German, and on the titanium it alternates between English and Japanese. So it's kind of interesting. Both watches are, of course, water resistant to 200 meters. They are ISO certified, I believe. They have non-drilled through lug holes, so you don't see any holes exposed on the outside of the lugs here. Makes it a little bit more difficult to put a strap on, but not really that hard if you have the proper tool. And both of these watches came on your typical rubber diver's compression straps, which I quickly took off and put something different on. The straps they come on are entirely serviceable and will work just fine. I just chose to put something else on these. As far as the movement, the heart of the watch, these watches feature a Miyota 8203 automatic winding movement. Actually, it's an 8203A alpha. It's a 21 joule movement. It's compared oftentimes to the Seiko 7S26 movement. They both beat at 21,600 vibrations per hour. However, the Miyota 8203 movement has one notable difference. It does allow manual winding, unlike the Seiko 7S26. So you can wind this watch up from a dead start and put it on your wrist and go wear it. Even without manual winding, it will take off and start pretty quickly. The other difference between the movements is this is a unidirectional winding movement. So the rotor, you can't see it, but if we were to take the case back off, the rotor only winds the movement in one direction, whereas on the Seiko 7S26 it features a bidirectional rotor winding movement. The movement isn't hacking, so you can't stop the movement by just pulling the crown out. However, you can do the same trick that I talked about in my last video. You can apply a little bit of back pressure on the crown and stop the movement if you so desire. Both of these examples, I would say, are okay as far as timekeeping. The rate variation on these two samples probably on average is about plus or minus 10 seconds per day. However, I hear that the Miyota movement can be regulated quite a bit better than that. Some people, report plus or minus 1 or 2 seconds per day rate variation, which is really quite good for a budget movement. So I would put the Miyota 8203A movement probably on par with the Seiko 7S26 in terms of ruggedness, reliability. Plus it has the one advantage that you can manually wind it. And that's a big advantage to some people. Finally, let's talk aesthetics a bit. The dials on these watches are a little bit cluttered. And that's partly because they're 40 millimeters across, and you can see on the titanium model in particular, a big portion of that 40 millimeters is consumed by the bezel width. So it doesn't leave a lot of space on the dial, and it just looks a little busy to me. They use large markers, which are really nice at night. They light up well, but I don't know. It's not bad, but it's just something that catches my eye when I look at it. I actually prefer the hands on the stainless model. You can see I'll hold them both up here for comparison again. The minute hand on the stainless model is a little bit larger and has a larger arrowhead on the end. I actually prefer that. I do wish the hands on these extended all the way out to the minute track. It's not a deal killer by any means, but it would be nice. It just makes it a little bit harder to read time to the minute since they chose to cut them back. Back to the crown. I said I was going to talk about the crown. Having the crown at 8 o'clock on a dive watch is just a great idea, I think. You've probably seen watches called destro models, destro being an Italian word meaning right or right-handed. In fact, I have a Panerai destro model that I'll probably review here sometime in the future. But this crown at 8 o'clock is really a great deal. And the reason it's so good for divers is that after a week or two of diving, the skin on the back of your wrist becomes a little bit tender and soft. And so if you wear your watch a little loose like I do, if you have the crown over here at 3 o'clock, it can really start to bite into the top of your wrist and become very uncomfortable. And having the crown at 8 o'clock for a left-handed wearing position is just ideal. It's totally out of the way, doesn't bother anything. I really like it. I wish more manufacturers would adopt this. This kind of looks like if you were to take a Seiko Monster, for example, they have the crown at 4 o'clock here, and just flip it over, it would look like this Citizen Promaster. In summary, I like these Promasters a lot. Of the two, I really have a strong preference for this stainless yellow dial model. I think the quality, fit, and finish on it are a little bit better than on the titanium model. I think the quality, they backed off just a little bit. It's not bad, not terrible quality by any means. Some people have reported that the crown strips out on these after repeated screwing and unscrewing the crown. I haven't any problem with this one, but I've only had it about a year or so. Time will tell. But I do prefer the stainless model, and to be quite honest with you, for the little bit of weight saving between the titanium and stainless, I would recommend going with the stainless if you're looking at these. And so, in general, thumbs up, good budget divers, and again, thanks for watching.